control charts. I have recently edited a book on statistics in industry, and there is a 60-page paper on how to use control charts in industry. I've just taken a list. A lot of things are happening. End-use quality, performance of products supplied to customers, samples. Again, the Institute plays an important role to the national sample survey, which can be used to approach the customers and see how all the things work in your houses. Operations research, another important method which is very useful both for management and production. That's why we call our branches of ISI SQC and OR. So they use both these. Oh, this is a this is something new. It's a multidisciplinary process for estimating performance when test data are sparse or non-existent. You can't test the product you have produced or it's bad or it's expensive. Then how do you test the performance of the process? So they have found out a method called predict. Now they say one of the ingredients used in judging the performance of product is expert knowledge. You consult experts. And then what's the product information? Experience with similar products. Data with similar systems and processes. Computer simulation and model output. Historical information. Experimental research. This method is do something new, which is called predict. I don't know what all those letters stand for. But this is the book I edited on quality statistics, use of statistics in industry. It's very interesting how he uses all this expert opinion product information. So without testing, you have to judge the output the product is. Now this is Six Sigma. This is where the SPC units are taking a very important role. For instance, Rajagopal has just finished. It's called a Six Sigma course. And he's going to award black belts. Not black belts. He's going to award diplomas on black belts. He said, probably you know what. Now, JQ and total quality management is something very new. And it says delight the customer, management website, people-based management, and continuous improvement. That's the philosophy behind total quality management. All of you know probably this is what the Deming's chart says. You add, plan, do, check, act, and goes down and down. But now the customer is most important nowadays. I don't know why they emphasize the customer. You start with the customer and then pass it on to the producer. Now the producer you have to get all the people involved in the production process. So that is extremely important. Then go back to the customer and find out how to put the product. So this is the latest thing. What is quality? How do we measure quality? Now there are many variables which have to be considered in judging the quality of the product. Reliability, durability, aesthetics, features, conformance to standards. These are little complicated problems. How do we combine all these and define the quality of a product. So that's probably you have to give some kind of weightage. Now, we started the SQC program based on the statement of that time. It's a common experience all over the world that in plants where statistical methods are used in designing the product, production has increased usually in the range of 10% to 100% without further investment. So in this sense, statistical knowledge is a national resource. And what is more interesting is it's so easy to apply statistical methods of quality control in industrial production. There is rarely been a technological invention like statistical quality control, which is so wide in application and so simple in theory, which is so effective in its results and so easy to adopt, and which yields a so high return with a small investment. Actually, there's a book on technologies of 20th century, and they have mentioned SQC as a technology. Oh, it's interesting that there is a lot of software in the use of statistical methods in industry. So the software is available. In the book I edited, you find this table, and it shows how each software is useful in various activities, in various computations. Interesting application of statistical methods. It says that many of you may know that the space shuttle pre-Challenger, it crashed while coming down, or it failed, and many people were killed in that disaster. Now the statisticians, they tried to analyze the data, and they showed they should not have sent the space shuttle up in the morning when the temperature was very low. So they established through statistical methods that they made a mistake in sending the in launching the space shuttle. My last recommendation to you is, if there's a problem to be solved, seek for statistical advice instead of appointing a committee of experts. Statistics and statistical analysis can throw more light than the collective wisdom of the articulate few. Thank you very much.
May I have the lights? Important that we honor Dr. Rao. I request Dr. comment with a minute. Indian Statistical Institute, Coimbatore. He will honor Professor Rao with a shawl and a memento.
Lady. For the lady.
Is for the lady, Rao, Shri Linkaraja Solkar, Vice President IBM India Private Limited. Linkaraja Solkar is responsible for overall revenue, profitability and customer satisfaction from the South Territory. He oversees sales management and market development responsibilities including ISP relationships and addressing high growth segments. Linkaraja joined IBM in 1995 and has worked in various roles in sales, marketing, channels and brand in IBM for the past 10 years. Linkaraja Solkar is a mechanical engineer from RAC Surat and holds a master's in business administration. Over to Linkaraja.
The need to use technology, the need to use design, and use quality control, and other areas of importance to grow your business. I'm going to add another small topic to that about innovation. In fact, if you look at when you go back way back in history, prehistoric ages, 1 minute the world was all yours. It was the dinosaurs that ruled the world, and the next minute everything was changing, and finally it became a whole new world. So what is very critical to exist in a new world is trying to look at how one can constantly innovate and one can constantly move on and look at ways of remaining ahead of the race at all points of time. So basically, if you look at why innovation for India at this point in time, if you look at it, I think the Indian economy is growing leaps and bounds, with strong global acquisitions, and everybody spoke about India's people as one of the key strengths for India in a true sense. And today, if you look at it, I think companies are migrating up the value chain, adding more value to what they offer, and technology does play a way in moving up there. And more importantly, what people are looking at is some fundamental change to be done and not just a high-level change. The next, when you look at sources of innovation, what we all thought or what we all probably have a misconception is that it's primarily more an R&D exercise, or it's probably more to be done by the R&D department. But actually, innovation happens. A lot of innovation comes in from your customers when they demand certain things of you, or when you work with your external suppliers, your business partners across consultants, competitors. So a fair amount of innovation can happen outside the organization, which can drive innovation internally. A fair amount of innovation within has to start from the top. The CEO has to be the person who has to become the change agent and who has to drive the basis for innovation. And across the globe, we see that organizations where the CEOs take the first step in driving innovation, the organizations are far more successful and in terms of breaking across. Now let's look at what are the obstacles to innovation, right? Fundamentally, the big obstacles to innovation, if you look at from an external factor, there could be government policies, there could be economic uncertainty, and so on. When you look at within the organization, culture plays a very important role in innovation. As an organization, what's the culture which, as CEOs of an organization, what's the culture you're able to drive? Are you able to create a culture which rewards innovation? Are you able to create a culture which fosters innovation? Are you able to create a culture which breeds innovation across is a very key factor. The climate for innovation or climate for creativity. You got to look at the work environment, the inspirational values which you can drive across within your organization to probably provide the right climate for creativity. Look at idea generation. Is there a structured method or methodology in your organization where you solicit ideas, you solicit new ways of looking at things? Or is it like you've got to constantly keep questioning people? So that's there. Incubation structures. Once an idea is generated, do you have a structure in place to incubate the idea and take it further up, right? Very often than not, the ideas could be coming, but if they're not incubated properly, they're not taken to the next stage, they die a natural death. And that's where, as heads of organizations, you got to look at ways and means of incubating ideas. Metrics and incentives. Idea generation or innovation cannot be happening in pockets out there. You got to have a structure, you got to have a measured parameter, you got to incentivate, you got to reward this whole process of innovation to take it across. The role of collaboration and partnering. As we saw earlier, innovation need not necessarily or
The best form of innovation also comes in when you collaborate effectively with your clients, when you collaborate effectively with your business partners, your suppliers, your partners, your vendors, and how effectively you try and collaborate across. Next is integration of business and technology. Today, technology provides a very, very strong platform for innovation. It fosters innovation, it helps you to innovate better, it helps you to make the whole process of innovation a far more easier and better way of doing it. Some of the innovation models, I think product innovation, very various organizations, Sony, Nintendo, Nortel, Boeing's recent collaboration of how they evolved a new product in the way of thinking across. Services innovation, I think one specific example which I can talk of is the President of India's office itself. When Professor Abdul Kalam was there, the whole process of responding to citizens was a very clear innovation. You could send an email and you could get a response back in 24 hours with a very clear service level which was established with a clear response. So that's a very clear, innovative way. Business process innovation. How organizations have innovated around the business processes. Sprint, Telecom Indonesia, very unknown players, but have played a very key role. Go across, I think we all heard the distinguished speakers talk about the perfect time for India. We heard about Ronnie talking about design, how India can play a very key player in design. We heard Mr. Ramaswamy and Mrs. Vanita Mohan talk about how India can play a very strong role in manufacturing. So basically, this is the perfect time to innovate, and very often you question as to what's the right time to innovate. I would look at it this way: the right time to innovate is when the going is good. It's best to fix your roof when it's not raining, right? So go ahead and fix it right now. So I would say that, look, the next steps is probably, if you look at it, you got to identify what those areas are, work with partners across, work with external collaborators. IBM can help you in areas of technology, IBM can help you in areas of local knowledge, local domain knowledge. With the expertise which we have across 160 countries with about 350,000 employees across, we can bring some of the good practices down here. Today, we've got a significant presence in India. We've got about 73,000 employees across the country. Got a couple of Nobel laureates, and some of them we're trying to see if we can get some Nobel laureates out of India as well. So there's a very strong research lab which we have set up, and we're trying to put some very strong areas. We opened an operation in Coimbatore, so we're looking at Coimbatore as a next hotbed of innovation for us to build across. We've got some software labs where we can develop good technology for you all. We've got research labs which can actually look at solving some of your business problems in the true sense. My colleagues are here. We also have an office here. So if you all need any contacts or any best practice sharing, then we'd be glad to do that. So I wish this forum a grand success, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Lingaraju. Manufacturing can do a lot with the help of technology providers, but especially the software which we have seen. I think Lingaraju spoke about what is winning in the innovation economy, and we also had the lead speakers talk about innovation, entrepreneurship, creativity. We now move on to Ricky Bedi. Ricky Bedi is the Senior Director at Magma Design Automation India Private Limited. He's also a co-founder for Vitalect Incorporation, an e-learning company, and ASIC ETA, consulting service provider. Ricky Bedi has close to 20 years of experience in the EDA and semiconductor industry. Not only he works for the industry and in business, but is also the co-author of a book on design methodology titled "It's a Methodology Stupid." Over to Ricky Bedi.
Thank you very much. Is the methodology stupid? When Clinton was standing for the presidential election, he came back and he said, it's the economy stupid. So that's where we stole the thing, and we said, it's the methodology stupid. Because the problems is not with the tool, the problems is with the methodology. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is the semiconductor ecosystem. And I think I feel out of place but let me tell you this, Ronnie talked about designing for Ferrari. I'm saying Ferrari will not exist if semiconductor is not there. So I want to stress the point why semiconductor is such an important play, and why India, which 15 years ago we were just treated as activity-based center, what is it happening as of today? Right? And what it takes to go from being an optimizer to being a co-innovator. You know, we heard Mr. Ramaswamy talk about, Mr. Swaraj also talking about innovation. Are we there today? Is India ready for doing innovation work, right? We were great in doing task level activities, but as an innovator that you see, and a lot of inventions that go on in Silicon Valley, is India playing an important role in doing innovations. Software is an enabler. So India started as a software hub. Everyone knows that, right? And again, we talked about Boeing using million lines of code. You know, the software, the explosion of software is happening, right? And that is providing an impetus to the VLSI design market. And that's what